Nigel, what are you doing? Is that my Ewok? What are you doing with that blaster? I'm not worried. It's a Disney blaster. So please be careful. We have neighbors. Now come on, we got a review to do. You know, there's something about vacations where you're able to catch up on things you've been meaning to get to, like fix the hole in the ceiling or deal with that possum in the attic. And also catch up on your watch list of movies that you've been meaning to get to. And I gotta say, there was a decent amount of gems in the rough last year. Blue-Eyed Samurai, The House of Usher, One Life, Godzilla -1, and so many others. But at the end of my watch list was a movie I was really looking forward to. Rebel Moon, a movie prior to release, actually ticked all the right boxes for me. An original IP that would be a spiritual successor to Star Wars, directed by Zack Snyder, who'd be doing a darker sci-fi story in a different universe, not tied to any current IP or continuity. And a story spanning multiple movies being shot one after the others, similar to the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films. In fact, this whole movie was supposed to be a Star Wars film for Disney's Lucasfilms, but was sidelined for something else. That could mean one of two things. One, it was a decent idea, but the producers decided to shit-can the idea because it wasn't already existing story that they could strip mine to death. Or two, it sucked so hard even the morons at Disney saw this iceberg coming and decided to sidestep it before some dumbass saw it and started to get ideas in her head.
Put a ticket in and make her name it gay!
So which was it? Well, it so happens there was a third option. There's nothing original about Rebel Moon in the slightest, and in fact, Lucasfilm actually did use this story before. It was used in an episode of The Mandalorian, and elements were actually used for Rogue One, because this is yet another magnificent style story. Down to the plot of the farm town being under threat of an overwhelming force, residents having to go out and find warriors to defend, yada yada yada. Everything has been done before. But let's go over the plot anyway. The story is there is a peaceful settlement on the edge of a distant moon under threat of an army from the generically named Mother World, where a stranger mixed in with a populace named Korra is tasked with finding trained fighters who will join her in a fight to defend the farm town from uncertain doom or die trying. And accompanying her on her journey is the farmhand Gunner, and the duo befriend a rogue pilot and jump from planet to planet, expanding their ranks, hopefully getting back before the evil warlord and his army return back to the settlement. That story isn't the issue. After all, in the hands of a semi-capable writer and director, you can get decent movies out of this formula. Originating in the samurai epic Seven Samurai and jumping to a western proves this is adaptable no matter what the genre. And the story has been adapted to sci-fi before too, by Roger Corman, taking me back to the first review I ever did for YouTube, Battle Beyond the Stars. In fact, that film is really close to this one, like remarkably close. Sadly, Rebel Moon can't compare to any of those films. Something that those films had in common that this one is lacking is simple character development. A story like this lives and dies by its character development, which is something Rebel Moon just glosses over. With each fighter that joins the crew, the storytelling gets lazier and rushed to the point that most of the backstories for each character are wedged into a rushed monologue the villain makes at the end of the film. There's so little build up for the characters, introductions feel rushed, and there's no interaction amongst the crew aside from Korra and Gunner, making the film feel dry and disjointed. The only exception to that rule is a scene between Korra and the pilot, foreshadowing a plot twist so obvious it might as well be stamped in the dude's head. And in fact, any kind of character that would make this film distinguishable from its peers is sorely missing. The ship designs are lifted from better sci-fi. The weapons are generic pew-pew laser guns and not lightsabers. But to be fair, I might as well talk about the good. But before I do that, I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and if you're enjoying the video, I ask that you hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel immensely, because when the channel numbers go down, Nigel gets depressed and he gets the munchies. Wait, where did he go? Oh no, hey, you put that dog down. No, you put the neighbor's dog down now. They're already asking questions about that cat. Yeah, leave it alone. So please hit the like button, and if you can, please subscribe. Thanks, and enough chilling for the video. There really isn't much I liked about this movie aside from a few things, like tackling a darker subject matter, such as soldiers being stationed on a planet taking advantage of the local populace, or populations coming in conflict with one another over displacement of war or over mining. There's factions in the Empire separated by loyalties to the former and present regime, and certain alien designs are a nod to other genres like Lovecraft. The entire planet is inspired by Lovecraft, even with the king looking like Cthulhu. The bad guy's equipment is worn down and dirty, emphasizing the decades of conflict across the galaxy. And instead of going for a Nazi Germany kind of style, the bad guys are more in line with looking like Soviet Union style Russia, with the officers wearing red and brown uniforms, and there's more of a Soviet aesthetic across the board. The antagonist in the film, played by Ed Skrein, I think that's his name, is the right kind of slimy scumbag you love to hate. He's basically playing his character from Alita Battle Angel, but it works here. The sad truth is, that's all the good I can honestly say about this film. Anybody familiar with Zack Snyder's way of filmmaking will expect washed out color palettes, overuse of slow motion, and a director's cut due next year. And Snyder has his defenders, but I don't see them defending this movie. The washed out color palettes really hurt any kind of creative design they're going with these planets, making them look generic and lifeless. Something modern day Star Wars has been fiddling around with over the past few years, and I absolutely hate it.
Now this really pisses me off to no end.
The overuse of slow-mo feels obnoxious. Instead of emphasizing critical hits in battle or making these battles feel grand and epic, it feels like it's trying to pad out the runtime. I actually had to double check, make sure I wasn't sitting on a remote. Snyder also chose to shoot some of the scenes with the camera out of focus, making it look like someone smeared jelly along the lens, and it's really annoying. He stops it halfway through, but in the first half of this movie, it's really obvious. This movie has a way of wasting great actors in its ranks by using them for set dressing and really pissing away any good they can do for the film. Anthony Hopkins plays a robot similar to K2 in Rogue One.
What are you waiting for? I gave you an order. Kill this.
Down. Structural engineering. Open that one.
Getting 2 scenes, but disappears from the movie, only popping back up in the very last shot of the film. And an actor I've been following since childhood, Dimon Hisano, plays the great General Titus, supposedly an amazing warrior and leader, one of the only characters to get a decent amount of build-up before he's introduced. And they do nothing with him. He sits in the background and delivers an uplifting speech toward the end of the film, but he doesn't even get a fight scene. He's just wasted. There are 2 other characters in the film, a female warrior / assassin, and a prince from a destroyed nation, each getting an action scene as an introduction, but they suffer the same fate as Titus, popping up at the end for the villain to fill out the rest of their backstories. Sophia Boutella does a okay job as Cora, but is severely handicapped by a shit script. Anytime Cora opens her mouth is to deliver exposition about the mother world, or flesh out her foster father as the current emperor. There is an attempt to give her a backstory in this movie, but it feels more like she was put into these scenes artificially and makes it come off as disjointed. Sadly, this is one of those times where I had to force myself to sit down and watch this movie. The only way I could possibly get through it is to spot the thing that was featured in another film, which becomes all too blatant as the movie goes on. For example, the ending fight scene is ripped right out of GoldenEye. But because of the lack of imagination, it really has no tension whatsoever. I was rolling my eyes all the way through the fight scene. Now I'm going to be honest. Is this the worst thing you will ever see? No, you've seen much worse. Hell, I've seen much worse.
Hi, I'm Whoopi Goldberg, and you're working out with Whoopi.
The biggest problem with this movie is it feels rushed and mishandled. I know defenders of the film will point out that this is part 1. To argue that, I point to films like OG Star Wars, Fellowship of the Ring, the original Terminator. All these films did this much better with the same amount of time given. And if serious course corrections aren't made for part 2 due in April, I'm going to ask a question.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
But that's my opinion on things. Remember to like, comment, or subscribe. Y'all have a good one.
But in the royal bloodline's lust for power, they consumed everything upon their planet. the realm marched its armies into the vastness of space.